This is DW News live from Berlin. I'm Anthony Howard. We begin with some breaking news just coming from Minneapolis in the United States. There are reports of a truck ploughing into a crowd following days of unrest over the death of a black man in police custody. More now on the situation on the streets of Minneapolis, where we are joined live by Stefan Simons. Stefan, we can hear you now. Can you please tell us where you are and what is happening?
Hi there, hello. So we're on the highway towards Minneapolis, and just about 15 minutes ago we witnessed that a trailer truck, a tank trailer truck, full speed rushed this way and down there in the crowd. The highway was blocked by the crowd, protesting peacefully. 10,000 people, 20,000 people maybe. He ran right through the people well, I can only assume that this is a mass casualty event. I'm sure it is. People had no chance of escaping that. That truck honked his horn and just kept going. And I think there was an extra 2 or 3 seconds where people just froze and tried to figure out what's going on. And well, the result we have here. I would like to tell and would ask my cameraman to turn around the camera and show you. So this is now the escape route for those people who were just on this side where I'm standing on the highway. They basically jumped over the meridian here to just escape. Most people are in absolute shock, traumatized. We saw people breaking down in tears. And of course, you see in the back there, police now arrived, law enforcement blocking the highway. And if Max could turn back to me, you can see in the back, and I step out of the picture, you can see in the back there also is police. And there where if you see those 3 markers there, this is actually the impact zone, I guess. And I say this on purpose, I guess, because I'm not really sure, we're not really there yet. And I have to also tell you, we don't really want to go there because the pictures which we would be broadcasting live then are probably not for TV. So this is the latest here. This was a Sunday, 2.5 hours away from the curfew on a Sunday. And this is what we got.
Stefan,
this is turned from a protest for Mr. Floyd into definitely a mass casualty event and a tragedy.
Stefan, if you can just paint the picture again. The march of 10,000 people was moving which way up the street, and where did the truck come from? You say he honked the horn. What sort of warning did you get that there was a truck on the scene?
There was basically no warning at all. The truck was traveling towards 4th Street Southeast, University Avenue on the Highway 36 on 35 East, and did you see this? This is police now spraying people here with this is an amazing scene. I just let you see this, and I'll put this in context in a second. You see the anger of the people here on the highway still. The police is moving in to secure the area, and they get pebbled with debris, and they have nothing else to do but opening their windows and spraying people with tear gas and mace. That's amazing in this situation. So again, let me resume. Truck came towards 4th Street Southeast. I saw him. I was standing on the bridge about 500 meters towards east, and saw this truck coming, and I heard him honking his horn, continuously honking his horn. And I guess that was the sign which alarmed me the first, because it didn't stop. It seemed almost like he sped up and honking his horn. And as I described before, there was this extra second where everybody realized he's not going to stop. He's going to do this to kill people. And that's what apparently happened here.
Stefan, from where you are, can you still see whether the truck has actually stopped and whether the driver has been apprehended, or was the truck able to continue on? Do you know whether that truck actually stopped?
Yeah, I know. I can't tell. I would assume you see that helicopter there in the far back, and where the and where the cops, where the police is creating a barrier there. I think if they apprehended the truck, and I assume they will and have, it's going to be right there. So I would suggest the following, that we're making our way a little bit further up there, but you would probably agree to me that we should do this and then reconnect with you. And as I said, you see, this is a mind-boggling situation. The people are traumatized anyway because of what just happened, but they're still expressing tremendous anger and frustration and rage against police.
And Stefan, with the
we're going to stop
protest
this right now
we go
for a second, and we're going up there.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll still talk to you briefly. Please stay safe, and we'll reconnect when you get further up the street.
Thank you. Just 2 minutes, 2-3 minutes, guys. Thank you so much. Come on, Max, let's go. All right.
You got the news? What news?
Come on,
hey, they try to run the
Okay. All right, I know it. I know it.
It's not a good time to record over here.
What?
It's not a good time to record over here.
Well.
That was Stefan Simons on the streets of Minneapolis. We'll cross back to him as soon as we can. Obviously, we understand the situation, and we'll bring you more as soon as we know it and as soon as we can get a line back up to Stefan. Okay, moving on. The SpaceX Dragon capsule carrying 2 NASA astronauts has docked with the International Space Station. The craft completed a 19-hour journey. It's the first time a privately built spacecraft has taken astronauts to the orbiting laboratory. A gunman has killed at least 25 people at a market in eastern Burkina Faso. A similar attack on Friday claimed 15 lives. The country has been battling jihadist terrorists for years. Okay, and it looks like we will have the chance to get back to Stefan Simons live on the streets of Minneapolis. When we left Stefan, he was a little way down the road and we couldn't see what had quite happened. Stefan, can you hear me and can you give us an update on where you are now?
Yeah, okay. Absolutely. I can hear you and you can hopefully see the picture. So we move.
That we can. We can. Take it away, Stefan.
All right. Okay, great. All right. So let us do our job for a second. Just for a sec. So we moved up a little bit further. You see the truck there? This is exactly the truck which did this, which ran through the people, through the crowd here. Amazing. I would say the perpetrator and the driver of this truck was apprehended by what?
Can we walk and talk?
No. Let us please report what we're going to see here. Okay, we're live on air.
You're live on the air, and that's your job, but you gotta understand that.
Hey. Easy. Okay, we'll resolve this here. We stop back a little bit. We go back a little. Hey, stop it! Come on. Easy.
Okay.
It's okay.
Stefan, if you need to turn the camera off and move, we more than understand in this situation.
No, it's all right. Come on, we gotta go. It's all right. Let's all calm down, people. Thank you.
Okay.
So again,
Stefan, please with the camera if you do need to move.
Yeah, I understand. We understand. Nerves are really raw here, of course. People are really upset and traumatized. And, of course, this is absolutely understandable that individuals react and deal with this trauma different ways. So, but again, to what we see. As you can see, Pauline has cordoned off. Calm down. Cordoned off what I would call the crime scene there. You see the truck in the background. We're moving back a little bit because
And Stefan, are police making any attempt to move you back, or is this the protesters moving you back at this point?
No. It's not the police. It's not the police. We're having an argument. I know. Guys, we're doing our job. We're reporting this into the world. Okay?
They said let him go. They said let him go. Come on.
And Stefan, I would
Thank you.
They said let him go.
definitely be doing as they say at this
So
point.
I guess maybe we have made the point. So maybe we have made the point with those very enraged and emotional protesters. And again, I can only tell our viewers and you a little bit understanding for those people. They went through a lot.
Absolutely. Stefan,
So
if
anyway,
I could just ask you, at the time of the incident, were there police looking after this protest? Was there police protection? Was there an escort moving with the protesters, or was this just a truck versus people and there was no protection and no coordination, so to speak?
Yeah, there was no police. There was no police, and for a very specific reason, right? This was 10, 20,000 people marching, and the police really kept a low profile. They watched, they monitored, but from a decent distance away. When these protesters were here on the highway, there was no police I could see. And then, of course, there was a traffic jam here because protesters were on the highway and traffic backed up. And the only lane open or drivable was here, right here, when you see the furthest left lane. And this is where the truck actually drove through the crowd and drove towards the crowd. So he actually exactly the trajectory where you see the truck now. This is the route and the lane he took to hit people, honking his horn continuously and speeding up. And all the drivers to the other side of the highway, to the right of where he took aim at the protesters, they were certainly as surprised and scared as everybody here on their feet. And again, there was no chance for people to adequately and properly and quickly to react and to get out of the way. Of course, I don't have any firm number. I cannot really authoritatively say how big of an incident this is, casualty-wise, injured-wise, etc. But this was. But I would assume that people got hurt and maybe even killed by that.
Stefan, with that in mind, Stefan, we can see multiple police cars on the scene, multiple police officers. What about other emergency services, if we are talking about, and it doesn't really matter about the number at this stage, but are they getting treated? Are there ambulances on the scene to treat those who are injured? Can you see that much?
I haven't seen. Yeah, very good question. I have not seen any ambulance so far. There's 2 helicopters in the air circling the scene here, and as you see, a lot of law enforcement, and that's it. To both sides. Maybe I can ask Max to just turn around one more time and show what you don't normally see when I stand in front of the camera. So all people now pushed back, and you see the bridge there over the highway. This is where my cameraman and I became aware of what's actually happening, because this truck moved with tremendous speed under this bridge and didn't make any attempt to stop at all. So no ambulances yet.
And Stefan, just if we could just do quickly recap. If anyone is just joining us, these are the streets of Minneapolis. We're with Stefan Simons, who is live there. Stefan, just again, how long ago exactly did what happen, and where were you at the time?
Yeah, 20 minutes ago, my cameraman and I were on the way to actually set up a live shot with you from the protest march, a massive protest march, 10, 20,000 people moving from the stadium, the US Bank Stadium here in Minneapolis, over the bridge and through town a little bit, and then here to the highway. About 20 minutes ago, we were just parking our car and getting ready for this live shot. We heard a truck honking, continuously honking, and I looked down from a bridge, an overbridge of the highway, and a tanker truck, this one there exactly, drove with tremendous speed on this left lane here towards the crowd. Did not make any attempt to stop or to slow down. To the contrary, I think actually he sped up. Furthermore, as the closer he came to the crowd, there were thousands of people here on the highway, on both sides of the highway, but on this highway where the truck was, of course, also. And there was no chance for those people to adequately react and get out of the way. I'm sure that many managed to do this, but I'm also sure that many didn't manage to do that. And right after, the truth is that we both started running, Max Fark and my cameraman, towards the scene. And what we encountered coming towards us were people absolutely desolate, absolutely wiped out with breakdowns and in tears, truly shocked and traumatized. And this is where we are right now. Now, the police you see here cordoning this off arrived about, I would say, 5 to 7 minutes past the incident in force. And what happened then is that protesters here, let's not forget why they were here. They're protesting systemic racism in this country, in this city, and with the police force, police brutality. They pebbled the cars driving in here with anything they could grab, their posters and water bottles. The police reacted not just by driving by, securing this area. We have seen at least one car and a policeman taking out his arm, lowering his window, his windshield, and spraying people, trying to spray people with mace or tear gas on his way to what you now see there in the back. Quite a scene, and utterly tragic. This changed the game here, not just for today, but for days to come, certainly.
Stefan, no doubt about that. It seemed like yesterday when we were talking to you that in Minneapolis that the police and National Guard had crossed some sort of boundary and that they had brought the situation somewhat under control. Can you talk about what the atmosphere was like? And you talk about the crowds. What was the energy? What was the mood of this crowd moving along en masse? You say maybe 10,000, maybe 20,000 people. Yeah. Can you talk about how tightly in they were packed and what was that atmosphere like?
Yeah, it is a Sunday here. It's sunny, it's warm. People came out to peacefully protest, march. The day started with small protests, relatively small protests at the Capitol. A few, maybe 2,000-3,000 people gathered there, speeches, chants, I can't breathe, etc. But more like a family event. Parents brought their children, people from all walks of life, diverse, African Americans, Asian Americans, Latinos, white people, everybody. And this march was a big event and was also advertised as a big event. It's the Take a Knee event. So the original idea was, and everybody was in good spirit, I can tell you that, was to march and then take a knee for George Floyd. And, well, they never got to do that now. So there was no violent protest today. We're still having, I think we're now about 1 hour and a half or something away from the curfew in effect. At 8 p.m. local here, the curfew starts again until 6 a.m. tomorrow local time. But so the people were not in danger to get harassed or into trouble with police anyway. And police did really a fantastic job to really stay behind and monitor all this, but not to interfere in any aggressive or any other way which could tantalize any party here involved. So there is really no reason or preset to have this happening here. This has nothing to do with the protest, and this has nothing to do with police and how they were not there or there. But there was no police here because they stayed in the background. And now this has, of course, changed. But now the protest is over anyway.
Stefan, we talked before about the lack of what we can see there, or what we can't see. There are ambulances. Is it possible, and I know it's very hard for you to judge that you were a long way down the road, is it possible that there was no one seriously injured as we see police coming down the road now?
If that is the case, I do gladly stay corrected, and I would call this a miracle. Because from my vantage point, from my view, there was almost no way that everybody escaped this unharmed. If that's the case, then that's great. That's wonderful, and I gladly stay corrected. I could be absolutely wrong. From my vantage point, when it actually happened, everybody thought here people will not survive this completely. And the people who rushed against us were in utter shock and said, oh, he ran into people. The truck, the semi went into people. And again, you're absolutely right. As an assumption, I have not seen or heard any numbers, death toll, casualties, injured. So that's an assumption still, of course. Now, what's happening now here is... Okay. All right, we're going. Okay, we're going. All right, you don't have to yell at me, sir. I'm going. Okay. So anyway, here we go again, and that's perfectly fine. We're moving by orders of Minneapolis police, going backwards, time to go and leave the bridge. And I would assume that they are so insistent because they want to do their job here and maybe let ambulances in. So do you know if there's any ambulances? Any casualties? Do we know anything? About that, about the truck.
Yeah, the driver's going to be okay. He was transported by one of our uniformed officers to HCMC work.
So you apprehended the driver and he's going, and he's, we keep walking. Okay, we keep walking. Say that again. Yeah, walk and talk. I love that. So you apprehended the driver and he is injured, but he's transported to a hospital? Okay. Is there any other casualties, protesters who were here on the street? Sir.
Keep walking or you're going to go to jail.
We're walking.
Oh,
Oh,
I don't care if you're with the press.
I'm out. Yo, that's fine.
Let's go. Hustle up.
Okay, we're hustling. We have equipment. We have equipment to carry, sir. Sorry. Okay, we're double timing. Okay. All right. Thank you. Turn the camera around and show what's going on here, please. Thank you. Are you guys still with me?
We're still with you, Stefan.
Let's hope.
If it's possible to keep walking and talking, that's what we'll do, so long as you're comfortable.
Yeah. We keep walking and talking until we have to actually really move off this this meridian here.
Stefan, I know you're trying to keep cool at the moment. Can you talk about the atmosphere of the police who have just arrived on the scene? When we joined you live at the top of the hour, we saw police firing pepper spray out of the window.
Yes, I'm going to tell you about the atmosphere right now here because it's getting very tense. Let me get out of here. And I will take the camera for a second. Because police is kicking us off the highway. And they're not really, of course, polite and nice about it. And there's a lot of yelling and posturing involved. And that's all. Okay, and now we're walking. You see, Max, you follow me, right? And
Stefan, while you're walking, I just wanted to ask your conversation with that policeman. Was he able to tell you whether there were casualties or not?
No, he did not tell me if there were any casualties. He did tell me, though, that they apprehended the driver, that the driver was, in his words, rescued. You can film what's going on here, Max, if you can. That the driver of the truck was apprehended, in his words, rescued out of the truck and brought to a medical facility. And gentlemen, thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Now we're going to turn camera a little bit. There you go. So, new perimeter, safety, security perimeter established by the police right now, as you see, in full force. Also, the ramp we're walking now, which was the escape route for many protesters who were on the highway here. There's a police squad coming against us, to us. And I think that is all in presumption by law enforcement that people are now so upset that this is not going to end in any peaceful way here, despite that major event.
Stefan, is that police up in front of you now as well?
Which we just witnessed. Yes, it is. Those are state troopers, or riot police in this with gear, riot police gear on, but those are state troopers. Gentlemen, can we go through there? Can we quickly go through? Up there? All right. Oh, this way. There you go. Thank you.
Protesters! Protesters!
All right.
And Stefan, if you can still... Stefan, if you can still hear me, I know there's a lot of noise around you. Just once again to try and recap what exactly you've seen and what exactly you've been in the midst of in the past half hour and even before then.
If you could do me a favor and could and repeat your question, please, very loud here. I can't hear your question.
Stefan, I'm just looking for you, if possible, to recap what you've seen here in the last 40 minutes.
Let's go! Let's go!
Okay. So I have no idea if you're still with me, but if you're still with me here, okay.
Absolutely. We're on the streets of Minneapolis. Just to recap, it's been 40 minutes now since a truck ploughed into a crowd where Stefan Simons is on a highway in Minneapolis. Stefan, if you can hear me now, if you can recap what the situation is, what you've seen, what you've been in the middle of.
Okay, so I'm in the middle of, I'm standing at a highway ramp, and I'm in the middle of, I'm actually caught between protesters and riot police, state troopers down there, sheriff department there also. What happened about 40 minutes ago is that down this way, a massive tank truck, a rig, spat along the highway this way. The highway was blocked over there where you see the blinking lights, the police now in massive numbers. Protesters occupied the highway. This truck came running towards the protesters, speeding up, honking his horn continuously and running into the crowd. Now, when I say running into the crowd, my vantage point and that of my cameraman was actually what you don't see right now. It was behind my cameraman, so this way, on a bridge. To us, it was impossible to imagine that there were no casualties, or that there are no casualties. Injured, possibly dead. I cannot verify this as of now. I have no numbers, I have no information. I asked police if they know anything. The only information we have so far, and we have pictures of that, the truck is down there, parked on the highway. The driver apparently had to be rescued, according to police, out of the truck, apprehended, and had to be brought to a medical facility. I don't know if the name of the medical facility either. I asked the officer expressis verbis if there were any casualties he could report on or know of in terms of protesters. He didn't answer the question, and interestingly enough, as soon as the sheriff's department and the state troopers arrived, that metropolitan policeman changed his tone towards us immediately. Very unfriendly, very robust and confrontative, and more or less yanked us off the highway where we were first reporting. So, and that brings us to here, to this ramp. Protesters here. I can tell you those people, and Max can clearly show this, those people are frustrated to the brink and traumatized, and they have gone through a lot the last week anyway, and now this is definitely left a mark on them. When we were basically running from our vantage point toward the highway, down this ramp here, and towards the scene, what we thought accident scene or a scene of mass casualty at the time, we were greeted by a rush of protesters, massive, towards us, most of them breaking down, crying, cowering on the floor, shaking, and really rattled, of course. There must be people who have seen, or at least felt, have seen horrible things, or have felt absolutely unprotected and in a situation absolutely out of control. And I think what's happening now is that all the protesters who still remain here and who didn't leave the protest entirely will now go back to the starting point of the protest, which is the U.S. Bank Stadium. Police has manned up significantly here. And interestingly enough, I really cannot tell if there are any ambulances still. I have not seen any ambulances. I see a lot of, and you can see this too here. Max is showing you this right there straight ahead. But if he's going to pan to his right, you see there's a massive police presence now here with batons and in riot gear. They're not here now to actually do anything with in terms of investigating that scene in the far end here. They're here to make sure that potentially I really don't have the time at the moment, but in some time the curfew will start. In about an hour and a half, and then those gentlemen there in uniform will probably try to enforce the curfew again, as they did yesterday, successfully, and that's probably the same thing and the same tactic they will exercise today.
Stefan, if I could just break in there quickly.
Protesters now trying to figure out what to do.
A great job of explaining the scene to us. We're 31 minutes past the hour. We're going to keep live with you if we possibly can. We know the situation is incredibly difficult. Just wondering if there is anyone there you can speak to try and get a witness account of what went on.
Yeah, let's actually, we're thinking alike. I like this because I actually wanted to suggest that. Was anybody there? Okay. Oh, easy. So I would love to have a witness account. We're live on. Listen to me for a second. We're live on television worldwide. This is DW worldwide. Okay, 165 million households around the world. So I need to know if you were there.
I was there. I'm PJ.
Okay. Now please tell me what you have seen.
So we were doing a peaceful protest on the bridge. Then a semi came through going like 40 or 50 miles an hour, try to run us all through. Caucasian man blowing the horn, going through, hit a girl, stopped, and then all of our people jumped on there, trying to rip him out, trying to get her. He kept going. We ripped her out. Started reversing, almost hit somebody. Then our people jumped on him. I mean, it's instinct. So he got through. Then fuel started leaking over there. So we tried to push all our people. Everybody was frazzled running. The police came down, so we spoke over here. I said, I came up, hands up slow, talked to them. They said, lead your people up the bridge. I go to lead my people up the bridge. They got squad cars zooming down. And Mason, not just coming, but Mason. So I said, what is this? What is this? You told us to go this way. Then he said, miscommunication. So then we talked. Go ahead.
Let me bring you back to the incident of the truck. Let me bring you back to the incident of the truck just for 1 second. So you say he hit one person only and nobody else was hurt?
No, one person only.
That's amazing. How is that possible?
Everybody started moving. Everybody started scattering. And the girl that got hurt, we only had one vehicle in the whole thing, and we put her in a truck and we drove her straight to the hospital.
That is amazing. I have to tell you, I stood on this bridge over there and I saw it happening. I heard him honking his horn and I thought, he's going to slow down, and he didn't slow down. He actually felt like he sped up, and that is without a doubt. I vouch for that. That was deliberate. That was not an accident. But just one victim. This is amazing because from my vantage point, it looked like he's mowing over dozens of people.
Of course, everybody started spreading. Go ahead. Kurt was right next to me.
But here's the thing. As first of all, I'm not from this community, but I am of the community like everybody else out here. PJ Hill has been doing a good job as an ex-athlete and as a representative of what a true Minnesotan is, trying to put on a peaceful protest. Our number one agenda besides that was to get justice for George Floyd. But then, when everything started occurring, you cannot control the natural human reaction of feeling fear and anger boiling over for years because of consistent injustice. So all we're trying to do now, as you saw, instead of luring and being and living up to the representation of what our president called us, being we're thugs, I saw no thugs out there for the march. I was there, and all we tried to do was just move the crowd and get people out of the way. And then they started coming from that side, zooming up cars to PJ Hill.
One more.
We get to this in a second.
One more question because we got to go. Last question. Go ahead. Yep. Come on.
We got to go. Okay.
Go ahead. Ask
We're
it.
walking with you.
Yeah. All right. Let's go. We got to go. Come on.
So this is what we're going to do. We're going to just want to walk with those gentlemen, and then we will ask the question we wanted to ask. And, sir, one sec. We're walking with you, but I need to ask you still. We saw what the police, when the police came, we saw them lowering down the windows and starting to mace people, trying to.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I have, of course, also to say that with the understandable rage and anger here, they were immediately pebbled with posters and water bottles, etc., etc.
Of course.
Right?
Of course. We're not going to say that we didn't that we didn't react, because we did. But the plan was for us to exit the bridge. So when they went away from the plan, then our people...
Hold on. We're going to do this like this.
And then our people reacted. So we did react.
Understood.
But we were backed into a corner to react. They went back on their word with us.
Yeah. Since I have you here, and it's not just about this incident, which is tragic and horrible enough, tell me about what is happening in the last week here in Minneapolis. We're here since Thursday, and we have talked to many people, all races, ethnicities, African Americans, white, Asian, etc. So, and protesters, and they all say one thing: they absolutely support the cause. They understand the rage, meaning with this, the looting and the torching of buildings, but they don't condone it.
For sure.
So
I'm saying the same thing. If you go on my Instagram, Mr.simplyp, I'm saying the same thing. I understand people's feelings. I understand the anger, the rage. I have that sadness for George and his family. But I do disagree with loitering the city and burning it up. But like I always say, there's a time for Malcolm X kind of reaction, which means burn the city down so we can get people's attention. And then there's a time for Martin Luther King, what we try to do today. We're transitioning as a people to do peaceful protests. But if a trucker comes and takes everybody out, or if the police lie to us and do this, what can we do? What can we do?
The relationship between African American community and the police is absolutely bad. How is this? Why is that so? Is it systemic?
It's systemic. It's society, how they have done us as African Americans, and they kill us, and then no justice ever. No, I mean the list is long, and we're tired. We're tired. It's not just convict these guys. We need long-term change. We need change in the Minneapolis Police Department. Systemic change. We need our people to be policing our people, and it's not all cops, because I know some great cops. Nathan Polk, William Wright, Tony Adams, Jeremy Randall. These are great cops, but we need more of them. We need more of them. It starts at the top.
What are you going to do in an hour and a half now when the curfew starts? Do you think those police were just there now to protect the scene of this incident?
No, they're going to come after us. They're going to come after us, but unfortunately I got to go because I got to leave my people. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, family. Good.
So,
So, Stefan, just to recap, that was incredible to be able to get those words from that gentleman who was there at the time. Just to go back to the start of that interview with him, he was talking about the moment that the driver was captured, and you talked about how incredible it was that perhaps there's a low level of, or a low number of casualties, but also the driver here, the moment where the driver was taken from the vehicle, and we believe he is okay, or at least he's alive.
Yeah.
In that incredibly tense moment where a truck
you have the
just
finger
plowed
on
into
the
a
right
crowd.
thing there. Yeah, you're absolutely on point there. You see, here's the interesting thing. Remember, we talked to the police officer first, and he said we apprehended. I said, did you apprehend? I asked him, did you apprehend the person, the driver? Yeah, no, apprehended. We had to rescue him. So, and now after hearing what this gentleman said, who was right there, this white officer is in his mind seems to be locked that the first thing he did was actually rescue this driver from a mad crowd. That may be so. They were mad, 100%. You have heard the man. There were dozens of people jumping on the truck trying to pull the driver out, which is in itself unbelievable. But the thing is that it is painted, this scene, this moment is very much painted differently here from a white police officer and a African-American black community leader who organized a march which was supposed to count 10,000 people, which was way beyond that, and which was slugged as take a knee. Take a knee. So against police brutality, against systemic racism in institutions like the police or other government institutions, in society, if you will. That is the interesting point here. So, yes, driver apprehended, rescued, and now in the hospital. Seems to be okay. I don't know where he is, in what hospital. And amazingly, and I take this fully, from my vantage point, it looked like I would have never guessed that only one person, and this is bad enough, but only one person, according to this witness, was injured, not killed. Injured, just injured. From my vantage point, and I saw the whole thing happen, it looked like this truck driver deliberately went for the crowd. He was there to kill people. He sped up and he honked his horn so everybody would pay attention to what he's doing in the next second. And just one person injured from that. And then this very, very justifiably angry community here, frustrated community, filled with rage, jumping to get this truck driver to stop what he's doing after we heard, tried to reverse and run people over again while he reverses. That is amazing, and I gladly stand corrected if this only took, and again, this is bad enough, one person to get injured. I stand gladly corrected with my early assessment that this is potentially a mass casualty event, if it's not wonderful. And the most important thing here is, I guess, for me, is that I am absolutely impressed how this community actually reacted. He and some others here, they were quick to realize that there is danger, not just from the truck driver, which they had neutralized of some sort, at least it seems like this. This is what I'm hearing out of what he said. But also, of course, they knew that the police would arrive soon. They asked for the police to come. We had people coming towards us screaming, "Where's the police? Where's the doctors? Where's the ambulances, the EMTs, etc., etc." They arrived then, and again, I have to say, and I saw it, that was, in my mind, and I'm sorry this is opinion, but this was despicable, to roll down the window and mace people who are in this stress situation. And again, now we're having another story on top of this horrible story, and that is that this curfew is crawling upon us here very, 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 very quickly, and people are now have a choice to make. Stick around, go somewhere else, protest, and risk to be tear gassed, hit by rubber bullets, or else, because police and law enforcement, still massed up there on the highway, is ready to enforce this curfew.